Hello. Test, test, test. Hopefully the audio is good. That's the whole point of doing episodes 1. So that way when you get further along in the process, you can look back and say, oh my goodness, I didn't comb my hair right, or I didn't have enough things on the wall behind you. So, as you can see, this is episode 1 of Urnest Opinions. My name is Aaron. I am part of the Fire Resistant podcast, and if you've come across this, we are a live stream on Twitch. We talk about everything from wrestling to Jesus. I have a co-host named Fred. He's an awesome guy, and he's not really that much of a pop culture guy. So, I watch a guy named Young Ripa, and he basically is kind of motivated me to say, hey, you know what, I can do this, and we can use this earnest opinions, however long it lasts, as a way to push people to our Twitch page, because our ultimate goal, of course, is to talk to as many people about Jesus as possible. But today, the whole point of earnest opinions is that we're going to talk about pop culture things for however long we talk about them. There's not going to be a lot of chat interaction because the point of the video is going to be putting things out there, breaking it up, putting it on TikTok, just trying to build the brand toward the pushing toward the Twitch, and maybe even ultimately go full-time on YouTube. When I say full-time, I'm not talking about like making money or anything like that. I'm talking about streaming, because we do have a multi-stream that we do stream to Twitch, or YouTube occasionally. So as far as people that, and I see you, Mr. Pop-Tart, thanks for being here. As far as who I am, if you're just stumbling across this video because YouTube's algorithm, or however long it's been since this video is posted, my name is Aaron. I'm 41. I've been married 17 years. I've watched an amazing amount of content. So when I watch movies and TV shows, you generally have an idea of what's going to happen. So when things surprise me, I get all excited. But ultimately, I'm a Christian, and that's my goal. That's the Fire Resistance goal, is to talk to people and push the gospel of Jesus Christ. With that said, there will be movies that we talk about on movies and TV shows that I talk about on here that do not bring any sort of glory or push the gospel of Jesus Christ, and I apologize for that. But that's just kind of what we're doing. Is since I've seen so much stuff, I have plans to re-watch shows at certain points and commentate over them to see if they hold up. Watch movies like today. Today we're going to talk about the differences between Obi-Wan TV show and Top Gun Maverick. We're also going to talk about the first episode of Stranger Things of season 4. We're not going to go anywhere past that. I have my wife and I have not seen all the episodes of Stranger Things so far. We may have my kids randomly pop in, even though I told them that when the door is shut, that they shouldn't come in here. Shouldn't take very long to have these sorts of conversations. But my beautiful daughter may just pop in and then leave once she sees what I'm doing. So with that being said, let's talk about the easiest thing to talk about. Let's talk about Stranger Things season 4 episode 1. Because that'll be the easiest thing to push through. The first episode, if you guys don't know, each episode of this season is going to be an hour or more, and then the final episode of the season, which I think comes out at the end of July, is going to be 2.5 hours. So each and every one of these episodes are longer than the previous season. So when we leave the kids and Hopper's dead. And but we know that he's not, and all the kids, two of the kids are moving. 11's going with the family that's moving, and all the rest of the people are left in Hawkins. So it's been 2 years since Stranger Things has been on TV. So when we see them again, when you have a show, and this is where a lot of TV shows, in my opinion, fell, especially in the environment that we're in as far as telling a full story. And what that means is, okay, it's been 2 years since we've seen them. We know, like I personally watching now, it's been 2 years for me, so they take an episode to show, oh, here are their lives now. And they took an hour and I think 10 minutes to show us that their lives suck, or this is how they've changed. This is how the events of the ending of season 3 has affected them. Like with Max, she watched her stepbrother die, a very vicious, horrible death, and about 30 minutes into the episode, I was like, okay, I get it. Eleven's life sucks. Will is weird. All the rest of their lives are all jacked up. But they kept pushing and pushing, and this is the problem. The problem is this: is you have, let's say, my son who is 13, 10 years from now, he's like, hey, I'm going to watch Stranger Things, right? So he goes and watches Stranger Things. He sits down and watches season 3. He immediately is able to go into season 4. So there's no 2 years. There's no 2-year break. So he goes from the ending of season 3 to an hour of just, hey, everybody's life sucks now. And it just throws the story off. So the first episode of season 4 was really, really tough to get through. Really, really tough to get through because they took so long and so much time to show us that their lives stink right now. Right? The only, was it, no, I guess all their lives stink. And, they showed us that Hopper's guard, or we don't know at the time, Hopper's guard sends a message saying he's still alive. We know he's still alive. They show us he's still alive. And then, they show us all of I think they show us 3 different times that he's tortured. So, like, again, it's one of those things, like, we get it. Okay, he was tortured. He's in trouble. The Russians are beating him up. Do we need to see this 3 different times? He's not going to talk. He's not going to give up the love of his life. He's not going to do these things. So do we need to see three different scenes of him being tortured, beat up, and then ultimately thrown to, I think in season 2, he was given to, like, the railroad people. They're building railroads or something. So, so my overall assessment of episode 1 is that the episode should have been about 30 minutes. And then, final 5 minutes of the episode is supposed to make up for an hour and 10 minutes of them showing us the same thing over and over and over again. So you have this character who we don't know who he is, of course, at this point. And as soon as I saw him, I said, wow, this monster looks awesome. The makeup is top tier. I don't know how you even want to, we don't even know what the wires or what are the things that are connected to his back are just amazing looking. His face, his skin is moving. So they put a lot of time, effort into this character to make him look awesome. And of course, I grew up watching Freddy Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street. And so I immediately noticed that one hand was normal and the other hand was elongated and claw. And that's what he used to do what he did to the cheerleader, which, if you have not seen it, hopefully you have, but like the death that cheerleader went through was horrific. Her bones breaking the way that they did, her face contorting the way that it did, and then ultimately her eyes just kind of bursting was awesome. Not that it happened to her, but just the way that they projected and showed it and everything like that. So, they gave us an hour and 10 minutes or hour and 5 minutes of hey, everything sucks, and then revealed the villain. And I really enjoyed that part of it. But overall, episode 1 of season 4 of Stranger Things wasn't the best, just from a story standpoint. I think that in the realm that we are in of media, where everything is binged all the time, I think they shouldn't. I think that kind of storytelling is dated. They shouldn't go back and spend an enormous amount of time, and this is any TV show, showing where people are and what space that they're in. They should just continue with the story. So With that, that was my assessment of first episode. We'll talk about episode two on a different episode of this. But going to the main topic that we were talking about is Kenobi versus Top Gun. So I'll start with Top Gun first because that's going to be easier because there's not a lot of story and history with Maverick. But the reason why I'm comparing these two is you have two strong male characters. When Top Gun came to an end, Maverick had overcome the death of Goose. At one point in the story, he launches the F-14 goes into a tailspin. He can't pull out of it, so they pull their chutes, and Goose hits his head, and the trauma of hitting his head kills him, and Maverick takes full responsibility for it, walks away, and then, of course, they need him to come back, so he comes back, and then in the middle of a dogfight, he loses his stuff, and he pulls out of it, and then goes in, and him and Iceman save the day. But ultimately, at the end of the movie, it was resolved. They actually had a scene, a symbolization of him getting over the responsibility of the death of Goose when he takes the dog tags and throws them into the ocean. Right? He is a alpha male. The movie is alpha male. I mean, there's no part of the original Top Gun movie that is not alpha male. From the very beginning sequence of Danger Zone to the final frame of him kind of just overcoming the death of his best friend Goose. So you have this story when we last see Maverick overcoming this. So 30 years later, we see Maverick, and I'm going to be very. It's out. It's been out 2 weeks, and that's kind of usually the threshold of people. Like if you haven't seen Top Gun yet, then of course Top Gun Maverick, then you probably want to either skip or whatever, or just listen and just know that there's going to be some spoilers involved. But we open up the movie 30 years later. He's still dealing with the trauma of Goose. He's doing some sort of program, but he's still the alpha male. He's still doing crazy things. He's got this jet that he needs it to go Mach 10, and they're like, hey, we're going to shut you down. Don't take the flight. He goes against the rules like Maverick does. He hops in this plane. He goes what he needs to go, and just like Maverick normally does in the other movies, he pushes the ship too far. Right? Pushes the ship too far, explodes, destroys, and that's normal Maverick stuff. He's still the alpha male. He's still pushing his limits. He's still pushing the limits of the people that are over him. So nothing's changed about this character. He's still the same person that we remember from 30 years ago. So when this from the trailer that they make him go back to the Top Gun program to teach these pilots to do a mission, and when the end of the movie happens, Maverick is still the person that is the leader. There's no because nowadays you have like a woke mentality where that there has to be someone that checks the male, and most of the time the person that checks the male just happens to be a female because that's just the way that the writing of Hollywood is right now. But the checking of Maverick in this one was Goose's son, right? And when he checked him, it wasn't a disrespectful checking, but it put Maverick back into the mindset of where he needed to be to complete what he needed to complete, right? So it was like a respectful realigning to push Maverick back into the mold where he was in. So there wasn't an undermining of a character that was an alpha male. They still had all the same tropes from the original movie, but it was like a completely respectful look at a nostalgic, because you probably heard this several times. No one was asking for a Maverick, or excuse me, another Top Gun movie. So when you hear that they're making a Top Gun movie, and you see that the way that most of the stuff has gone lately, like He-Man, like, the He-Man cartoon, Masters of the Universe, when you think Masters of the Universe, you think He-Man. When you say, hey, I'm going to watch Masters of the Universe, you're thinking He-Man, right? All the commercials, all the toys revolved around He-Man, and the story that Kevin Smith decided to tell wasn't He-Man at all. It was a Teela story. So you expect these sorts of bait and switches to continue. So no one was asking for a Maverick movie, but they went ahead and made one anyway. It was filmed before COVID, and then after when COVID hit, they decided to delay it, and then it got delayed, I think, a total of 2 years. So this movie's been done for 2 years, and I knew, because I like looking and researching things, I knew that the movie was shot practically. So I wanted to watch it in IMAX, so I went and saw it in IMAX. And if you have an IMAX theater around you and you haven't seen the movie in IMAX, go see it in IMAX. It's so stinking good. But back to the whole point of me bringing up Top Gun versus Kenobi is that you have an alpha male that learns a lesson, that has an arc, that's his character is not undermined by anybody, from his superiors, from a female standpoint, even from himself. He didn't do anything stupid. He wasn't stupid. He was still the same smart, intelligent character that he was in the original film. So it was basically a love letter to the original, and that's kind of what people were looking for. That's what you're supposed to do when you cash in nostalgia bucks, is you don't go and try to undermine the original content. You embrace it, you love it, you lift it up, and then the fans will just throw money at you. It's been number 1 2 weeks in a row, and it's doing very well. And it's the biggest movie opening that Tom Cruise has ever had. And it comes down to word of mouth. You take an IP that already exists, you love it, embrace it, lift it up, take the character that was amazing, and either you keep them down the same line or you lift them up just a little bit, and that's what they did. Jennifer Connelly was in the movie, and there's a couple of banter moments and stuff like that were great. But they didn't use her to slap him around. They didn't use him to slap her around. They didn't use any of the female characters to slap or step down on male characters. The male characters didn't slap or step down on the female characters. It's like every single character in the movie had respect for each other, right? We're the best of the best. Who can teach us? Maverick shows up. He is the best of the best because he shows you he's the best of the best. So there's like this line where there's banter, but it's not a disrespectful, I'm stepping on you to stand over you type stuff. So it was great because of that. It was good because of that, and people are throwing money at it. Like my wife and I are going to go see it. I went and saw it by myself, I went and saw it with a buddy of mine. An IMAX, and my wife wants to go see it, so I'm going to go see it with my wife, and I have no problem going and seeing this movie again. The flip side to that, and this one's going to be a little bit longer because I've been talking to several people about Kenobi. So we have Top Gun, that was written as a love letter to the original. I mean, so much so that a bunch of 22-year-olds, right? Like, how many 22-year-olds really know the song Great Balls of Fire? They literally redid the scene of Great Balls of Fire with Goose's son. So I can understand how Goose's son would know how to play the piano and possibly play that song, but like all the rest of the people in the bar know Great Balls of Fire. I mean, really? Come on. Do you really think that many 22-year-olds or 22 to 27-year-olds know Great Balls of Fire? No, I don't think so. That was one of the little too much on the nose things about the movie. I'm like, okay, really? I can understand all the rest of the stuff, but Great Balls of Fire, that's too much. But back to Kenobi. So let's take a step back. Okay, so as of right now, I'm going to be talking about episodes 1, 2, and 3 as far as the Kenobi show, not the prequels. Those will probably come into play at a certain point. But ultimately, so if you have not seen episodes 1, 2, and 3 of Kenobi, then just like with Top Gun Maverick, shouldn't be watching. But here's the thing. At the end of Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, Anakin, Obi-Wan have a lightsaber battle. They fight. We all know the joke. We all know the memes. Kenobi gets the high ground. Anakin's like, I'm too powerful for you. He tries to do maneuver. He gets his 2 legs and arm cut off with the one swipe of Kenobi's lightsaber. Gets lit on fire. Kenobi walks away thinking that his brother is dead. And when I say brother, his brother, his best friend, everything like that, the person that he thought was going to be the person that brings balance to the Force, the end of the Sith, right? So he walks away, doesn't cry, doesn't seem affected, because the first rule of the Jedi Order is to put your feelings aside, right? He mastered his feelings. That's the reason why he's a Jedi Master. That's the reason why Anakin wasn't. Maybe more on that later. But he walks away. He sees, if I remember correctly, C-3PO's walking down the cruiser bridge or drawbridge, whatever you want to call it, door, and he's like, "Hey, where's Anakin?" He's like, "He's probably not coming. He's not coming." And then he said that, he's saying like, Padme's about to have the baby, so they get up and they fly and they have the baby, the twins, and as she dies, and then so there's a scene where Yoda, Organa, and Obi-Wan is sitting at a table. Obi-Wan is not in distress. He's not crying. He's not mourning. He's not all of these feelings that are going on that betray the Jedi, right? He's sitting at the table having a conversation with 2 other guys to figure out what to do with these twins, right? Luke and Leia. Organa says, "Hey, I'll take Leia. My wife and I have always wanted to adopt a girl." So he takes Organa to their planet, Alderaan. And then Ben or Kenobi is just like, "Hey, I'll take Luke. I'll take him to his family, and I'll watch over him." And then Yoda's like, "That's a great idea, but let me tell you something. Obi-Wan isn't crying. He isn't mourning. He isn't acting all tired of himself or whatever, right?" Yoda's like, "Hey, your old master came back and he figured a way to immortality. I need you while you are on Tatooine to commune and figure out how to do this and talk to Qui-Gon and train in the Force." And Obi-Wan's like, "Got it, dude." So the next scene we see Obi-Wan is we see him giving the baby to Luke's uncle and aunt, right? Here's the baby. He's not mourning. He's not crying. He's doing this, the Ben Kenobi move, and then he leaves. Okay? The next time in the canon timeline, prior to this show, the next time we see Obi-Wan Kenobi is in Rebels. Ezra is seeking out. Ezra is tricked by Darth Maul into finding Obi-Wan Kenobi so he can go and kill him. So Obi-Wan shows up in this fire, not in this fire, sorry, excuse me, in a campfire, right? Ezra's at a campfire and Obi-Wan shows up. They have this conversation, and then he's like, Ezra's like, "Hey, this rock, I forget the name of the rock, showed him Obi-Wan, and that Obi-Wan would help them defeat this particular thing that's going on in the show." And Obi-Wan was like, no, that's not what's supposed to happen. Darth Maul tricked you, used your feelings against you. He goes, "That's why you should always be training." And then he's like, "But I've been training in the desert for this moment right here." Darth Maul walks up and he tells Ezra to leave. Ezra leaves, and then there's this awesome conversation between Darth Maul and Obi-Wan where Darth Maul is like, "Why are you out here? Why are you out here training in the desert? What's out there?" He's like, "What are you doing? Who are you protecting?" And that's when Obi-Wan's like, all right, he's figured out that's something. He's like, maybe my thoughts betrayed me. So he busts out the lightsaber. And in this fight, if you watch it, you have a tactician, someone that has been training for 14 years for this moment right here in the desert at the time for 14 years, training for this moment that an evil Sith shows up to Tatooine that could possibly find Luke. He's been training for this moment. He busts out the lightsaber. He gets into his specific stance. Watch the scene. It's awesome. I didn't figure this out. This is off of another video. He gets into his stance, and then he switches to Qui-Gon's stance. He tricks Darth Maul into coming at him in a specific way so he could kill him with one strike, because he knew that Darth Maul had been training to fight. He'd already defeated Qui-Gon's stance, and he was fighting to, or he was training to take on Obi-Wan's stance. So he was ready for one. He got overconfident. He took a different stance and tricked him in and killed him, right? There's an epic moment. Look it up if you haven't seen it. But that Obi-Wan that we saw was the same Obi-Wan that we had at the end of Revenge of the Sith, one that had been in the desert training for the moment that an Inquisitor or even Darth Maul showed up, because he knew that Darth Maul was still alive in the Clone Wars. Darth Maul showed up with the Darksaber and killed Obi-Wan's love interest in the show. So Obi-Wan knew that Darth Maul was still alive. So with that being said, now let's look at Kenobi. Kenobi opens up with an unshaven, undisciplined, coward, thief of Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's not training. He sits around on a rock and watches Luke all day, which I guess is fine. You know, he's watching Luke. But let's say Darth Maul showed up, because again, he knows Darth Maul is alive and is searching for him. He knows this. So he's not training in the Force. He's not training in lightsaber battles. He's out of shape. And we'll find out later he's gotten a lot stupider. So he's standing there. So let's say that infamous scene where he's sitting on the rock, he's looking at Luke. If Darth Maul were to have shown up at that moment, he wouldn't have a lightsaber because he buried it. He wouldn't have the Force because he's not using it. So what in that moment could Obi-Wan have done to protect Luke? Nothing. He would have watched everybody. He would have watched Owen, all of them just get massacred by by Darth Maul. Let's say even say that the Empire showed up just by accident, just like in the show. The Empire shows up and just starts shooting. Like, what is he gonna do? Right? So you have Obi-Wan who's in the desert, untrained, his lightsabers buried in the desert. So you have this character who last time we saw him was fine. He was a soldier. He was doing his next mission. His next mission was to commune with Qui-Gon, train, protect the boy. Then we see Rebels, where he is trained. He is ready to protect the boy. He does protect the boy when Maul shows up, right? Completely in-line character with these two. Now we have a thief, an untrained Jedi who's given up on life or something, and when he is finally convinced, Leia is another character, but Leia is another poorly written character who she's extremely intelligent in the first episode, talking down to people and just so smart. She's smarter than everybody, but she's not smart enough to know that Obi-Wan, who saved her, is there to save her. She takes off running. It's so dumb. So we have Obi-Wan, end of episode 1. He's finally convinced to go, and Leia is captured in one of the dumbest scenes in Star Wars. Like, 3 grown men can't catch a 10-year-old with stubby legs running. Just, it's so dumb. So they capture her, and he's convinced. He walks up to the ship, and he's just like, do I get on? He's already dug up his lightsaber, right? He's already made in his mind that, hey, I have to go save her. So he goes up and digs up his lightsaber, but he stops in front of the cruise ship. And in this really, really weird moment, like, this lady's like, are you getting on or what? Like it was like a scene out of nowhere. Like, he had to get that extra push. Don't know why. It was. I don't understand it. But the next episode, he's still being cowardly. He's still, being not Obi-Wan. He's being safer. He's on the planet that looks like Blade Runner, which I really enjoyed the look of that planet, right? But like, he gets Leia. She starts running from him, and again, on foot, a 10-year-old is outrunning a Jedi. And again, I know he's not trained, but in episode 1, him and Qui-Gon, when the shield droid showed up, they took off down the hallway at a tremendous amount of speed. And now Obi-Wan can't even catch a 10-year-old on foot. And this time, it was flat terrain. Like, he was like, Leia, Leia, Leia. And when the Inquisitor finally caught up with him, he didn't try to engage her, which again, it's not that he could engage with her, because she was much more powerful and much more trained than him at that point. But if I remember correctly, I could be wrong. Leia talked down to him the entire episode. Every chance she got, she talked down to him. And then, if I remember correctly, she is the one that got everything going for the cargo train, right? The cargo train, for them to escape. So Obi-Wan was stupid enough not to get the cargo train. They finally got in the cargo train. That's the episode 2. Episode 3. You have, once again, cowardly Obi-Wan. They land on the planet, and they go to an area where they're supposed to meet someone that will help them. And no one's there. And Obi-Wan's like, oh, I don't know what to do. And then, of course, Leia, being the person that knows everything, that solves everything, and Obi-Wan being who at one point was described as wise as Yoda and as powerful as Mace Windu, doesn't know what to do. And this car, or this truck, it's not a truck, but you get what I'm saying. Like, his truck drives up, and Leia's like, let's go talk to him. And Obi-Wan's like, no, don't do that. And she just starts walking. He's like, no, don't do that. No, don't. Just total beta to a 10-year-old girl. She walks over there. She lies to this guy. She forces Ben to lie about who he is and who they are. So they get in this truck, and just, there's a couple conversations that happen. And then stormtroopers get into the truck. And keep in mind, it's been 10 years since the events of Revenge of the Sith. They have been looking for Obi-Wan for 10 years. So that means his face, in theory, we don't see it, but his face has to be plastered everywhere, because that's who Darth Vader wants. Darth Vader doesn't care, because Darth Vader doesn't know anything about Luke or Leia. All he cares about is Obi-Wan. So every single stormtrooper, every single Imperial officer, every single Inquisitor, everybody would know who Ben Kenobi was and what he looked like, because anybody that would find him would be like elevated up. But you have these stormtroopers who usually are portrayed as dumb, but I mean, again, they still would have had 10 years of staring at pictures of Ben. Get in there, they start talking to him, and then the Jedi who was described as powerful, as smart as Yoda and as powerful as Mace Windu, calls Leia. They make him so stupid that he can't even keep a ruse up, right? He can't even keep a ruse up long enough to keep them alive. So, the stormtroopers are like, what did you just say? I mean, again, they know that Obi-Wan's been found. They know that he's running around with the little girl. They know his face. They know the name Leia, because that's their stuff has been thrown out there. And the stormtrooper, fake drama. The stormtroopers get out and leave, and then they come up to this point, and this is where the show starts getting dumb when it comes to Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan gets an epic moment. So the guy that's driving them figures out that, hey, it's not, those people are lying to me. That he tells the stormtroopers at point blank range, they have guns. They're like, hey, put your hands up. Puts his hands up. I think if I remember correctly, there's 3 of them. Point blank, Obi-Wan kills all 3 of them. it's a great moment. He gets a little bit of push up, like, hey, he's still got the old fart's got a little energy left into him, right? So it's like, okay, that's cool. And there's this moment, and I'm sure if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. There's like this laser fence, and he goes over there and tries to turn it off. He can't do it, so he shoots it. And you would think, okay, he needs to get past this laser fence because they're going to get in the truck and drive to the city that they're trying to go to. No, he shoots the laser fence, and then they walk through. They take this wide shot of showing them walk through this where the laser fence used to be, and it's within this cavern. So all they had to do was just walk around the laser fence. He didn't have to shoot or do anything. All they had to do was just walk around this pole, and it shows that the character, how dumb they've made this character that we love so much, and how smart he used to be, how stupid that they've turned him into. So right as they cross the fence, another vehicle shows up that's, I think it's got 4 stormtroopers, and they all point guns at him, and they're like, get down. Okay, keep in mind, he just killed people point blank without any issue, right? So when he gets down, they didn't say drop the gun. Okay, this is one of the other dumbest things. I got to move my hands closer because a lot of people didn't catch this because they're so in love with anything Star Wars. They can't scrutinize it at all. Obi-Wan gets down on the ground, his gun right here in his hand, literally pointed at the stormtroopers. Right? He goes from killing a bunch of stormtroopers to just giving up. So here he is, Beta Kenobi again, laying on the ground with his gun pointed directly at the stormtroopers, and just like, oops, guys, I can't do anything else. And then, this lady shows up who is pretending to be an Imperial officer, kills the stormtroopers, and once again, Obi-Wan Kenobi's again saved by a female character. And so we fast forward to the moment that we've all been waiting for. Pure horror shows up. Vader shows up in this town where they're hiding. And this is pro stuff here. This is like something that I got excited about. Like this, when Vader showed up, I like sat up in my seat. I'm like, oh crap, Vader's here. He just murders like 5 or 6 people walking down the street. Just picks them up, breaks their neck, and uses the Force to drag one down the street. There's like this epic moment. It's a callback or a reminder to Rogue One when he goes down and starts killing all of the rebel forces, but he's just walking down the street. What does Obi-Wan Kenobi do? What does the coward do? He's like, I gotta go. Takes off running. Cowardly Obi-Wan. And Beta Kenobi, instead of Ben Kenobi, Beta Kenobi. Beta Kenobi runs from Vader, which he should. He should run away from Darth Vader. Darth Vader has been training. He is more powerful in the Force now than he ever was. Or let me rephrase that. He's more powerful in the Force than their meeting last time. So Beta Kenobi runs, and then Vader catches up to him. It reminds me of that. Do you remember those old Looney Tunes commercials where the black cat always figures out a way to get a white stripe on her back, and the skunk always finds her, and she's running at full speed, and he's hopping toward her. That's kind of like what this was, where Ben Kenobi's like running, and Vader's just going do 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 do, just comes up to the scene, and Beta Kenobi starts getting they get in a lightsaber battle. Darth Vader talks trash. He talks trash the same way that we should be talking trash. Like, look what you've become. He's like, hey, you're untrained. He didn't say it like this, but he was like, you're untrained, you're undisciplined, you're not powerful. He said the years haven't been kind to you. And he just basically beats down Kenobi. And the entire time, Kenobi is just looking for ways to get out of this fight. He doesn't use a Force because he's not been training. He's somehow lost the ability to use the Force. And Vader, in a really epic moment, like when Vader knows that Obi-Wan's defeated, he just picks him up with the Force and starts dragging him through this fire that he's created, right? And Obi-Wan, all he can do is scream. And then that Imperial lady, like Vader puts out the fire, and he's like, hey, get ready. You're about to go through a lifetime of torture. I'm going to torture you worse than you could possibly imagine. It's like, imagine the worst torture ever and times that by 100. Okay? He's been searching for this guy for 10 years. The guy that cut his arms off, or cut his legs off in an arm and set him on fire and left him for dead. So he's been waiting for this moment, and he's got it. Okay, the dude's right in front of him, defeated, laying on the ground, knocked out at this point. And he sends the stormtroopers to go pick him up, because this is when Obi-Wan's torture was truly going to begin. Okay, this lady, that's the Imperial officer, shows up. She shoots one stormtrooper. That ignites the fire again. And so there's the baddest dude in the universe standing on the other side of the fire, while Kenobi is laying on the ground on the other side of the fire. And a droid, the slowest droid in the history of all Star Wars, slowly comes and picks up Obi-Wan and slowly walks off screen, while the baddest dude on the planet just stands there and watches. Keep in mind, 3 to 4 minutes earlier, he was dragging people through the streets with the Force. He was snapping their necks, but he stood there and watched as the person that he wanted the most of all to just slowly be walking away. Like, if you didn't notice how slow the droid was, go back and watch the final 2 minutes. I have, in my opinion, I have labeled that as literally the dumbest thing I have ever seen on film. Because 2 minutes prior, 3 minutes prior, you showed how powerful he was. Snapping necks, picking people up, dragging it. Even 30 seconds before, he had Kenobi in the air. He was dragging him through fire, right? Torturing him by dragging him through fire. But then watches him slowly be rescued. It doesn't make any sense at all. So how does this all play into the mindset of Top Gun versus Obi-Wan Kenobi? You have these writers who took a character who was awesome, Maverick and Obi-Wan. One writer or group of writers said, hey, Maverick is this alpha male, awesome dude that can save the day without any issue. The other group said, hey, how can we tear down this character and possibly build him back up? Because unless Obi-Wan Kenobi, unless they do a time jump, let's say they time jump a year, this Obi-Wan in his current state, he can't fight Vader. He can't fight that Inquisitor. He can't fight anybody. So, like, how does this show end? How do things get resolved when Obi-Wan Kenobi is not powerful, he's a beta, and he is stupid, right? So when you look at these two franchises with these two characters, these beloved characters, because Obi-Wan, there's a lot of people that love the TV show, and I'm glad that they do. I just wanted more out of him. I had an idea of what Kenobi was based off the way that Revenge ended and Rebels portrayed Ben Kenobi. So you have these two characters, Maverick and Obi-Wan Kenobi. You have two different writing groups with two different agendas. One showing respect and the other one not. Right now, when you look at the way people talk about Ben Kenobi or Obi-Wan Kenobi's show, it's divided. You have people that just are going to love Star Wars regardless of what it is, or they grasp on to moments like Vader dragging people through the streets and snapping their necks and just having pure horror. You grab onto those moments and say, you know what? Despite all of the character breakdown and the deconstruction of Obi-Wan Kenobi, like, that moment right there was worth it. And for me, that's not That's not why I watch. I watch for the entire 45 minutes to be entertaining, to justify its existence, because in the case of Obi-Wan, we know that Luke, we know that Leia, we know that Ben, we know that Vader, we know that these characters live. We know that they live. So putting them in fake, dramatic situations, like the point where the Inquisitor had the lightsaber up to Owen's neck. Well, we knew that she was not going to kill Owen because Owen's in Episode 4, A New Hope. So, so the show has to justify itself. But back to the character, the Obi-Wan, the Kenobi show versus Top Gun. And I know that, Obi-Wan's got 3 more episodes. It could turn around. I doubt it, though. It could turn around. It could justify itself in the final 3 episodes. I doubt it, based off the first 3 episodes and the way that they're treating this character. But the thing is going forward with these nostalgic movies and TV shows, like, they should take a page from Top Gun, because like I was saying before, Star Wars fans are always kind of divided for the most part, except for on Mandalorian. Mandalorian, you have most of the fans loving it, right? Because it's respectful to the material. So maybe they can take a page out of Top Gun. Top Gun writers said that, not said, but they presented that they may have not been alive when the original one came out in theaters, but they showed it respect. And when you look at how well it's doing in the box office and how well it's received, just in general, people talking about it, every person that I know that's seen the movie, even those that even grow up watching the original, said that it was really good. The drama was there, the respect was there. They didn't put any politics, they didn't put any woke agenda. Like I said earlier, there was no character that was stepping disrespectfully on top of anybody else. People were awesome. The characters were good because they were good. They didn't need to step on anybody to make themselves better, whether they were male or female. So you have Maverick and you have Kenobi. You have a show that is quite divisive, quite polarizing, because of the way that they're portraying a character that we love. Then you have Maverick, who is generally, the movie is loved, and you can look at the way from people are talking about it online. So what makes Kenobi divisive, and what makes Maverick generally loved? And the answer, of course, in my opinion, because it's Urnest opinions, is the fact that respect. You went in, you got Maverick. Kenobi, you went in and you got somebody else. That's not been Kenobi, especially since if you've watched, I haven't watched all of Clone Wars, but I have a general idea of what goes on in Clone Wars. Like, you get a Kenobi that's a soldier. In Rebels, you get Kenobi that's a soldier. In A New Hope, you get Kenobi that's a soldier till the very end. So this is not a soldier. So to wrap this first episode up, and I promise I'll get stuff on the walls. I was actually looking at buying a green screen to maybe throw something behind until I figure out what I want to do in the room. But to wrap things up, I did not go into Kenobi wanting to dislike it. I don't sit down and watch a TV show or movie to be like, oh, this is going to be the worst thing ever. I can't wait to talk trash about it. I hate it. I can't wait. I've never sat down to watch a movie to hate it. I sit down to watch entertainment, to be entertained. And when you make something that already has a continuity into it, and you inject something that doesn't make sense, then it just doesn't make sense. So my brain's like, what the heck? What's going on here? And when episode 6 comes to an end, I could run over here and make an episode and say, hey, I was totally stinking wrong. This series was the greatest. Right now, I'm talking right in the middle of it. And but I'm also right in the middle of the dumbest scene in the history of film. So I'm a little bit jaded right now, but I'm also not so jaded that I won't come back and say, you know what, guys, I was wrong. Obi-Wan Kenobi. Now that I've seen the entire show, I understand why and what and where, but I probably not. So with that being said, the difference between the two is the people in the writer's room respected the character of Maverick, and the person and the group of people that wrote Kenobi did not. I thought that Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni had something to do with this show. When you look at the credits of the show, they had nothing to do with this show, and it shows. It shows big time, and all I can say is I hope the final 3 episodes are better than the previous 2. I doubt it. We were led to believe that there's going to be an epic lightsaber battle between Vader and Obi-Wan. Unless there's a time jump, it's not going to be. I hope with the Maverick movie that people start taking, analyze Maverick and say, hey, why are people just absolutely flocking to this movie and loving it and just throwing money at it like crazy? And then start moving forward. Because Obi-Wan Kenobi could have been a phenomenally awesome TV show that took the Star Wars base and continued their love fest for the Star Wars brand, and they did not. They chose the dark side. So, all right, that's going to finish off, that's going to finish today's episode. Again, if you somehow stumbled across this show and you don't know who the Fire Resistant Podcast is, we stream on Twitch. My name is Aaron. I'm on my show called so that's why it's called Urnest Opinions. We stream Sunday, Monday, Tuesday for the most part, 8 p.m. Central Time to whenever we run out of steam. Sometimes, most of the time, it's 11, but sometimes it's a little after that. But if you've never been, stop by. Tell us that you found us through Urnest Opinions, and yeah, thank you for watching. Thank you for being a part of the show. As far as any sort of comments that are below. And then the next time I do the show, maybe tomorrow, I don't know, we'll have more things to talk about. I'm rewatching my favorite TV show of all time, The Shield. So we may do a breakdown of each episode as I watch them, because it's my favorite TV show of all time. But it's been probably 10, 11 years since I've watched the show. So rewatching it, I got Hulu. Hulu did like this deal for, it was like, I think it was like $1 a month for 3 months, or 3 months for $3 or whatever. I don't know. I just did it, and for the very reason that The Shield was on there, because I haven't seen The Shield in forever. So I'm about 6 episodes into the first season, and yeah, maybe we can do a breakdown of that. If you guys have any comments, you can find us on _ Fire Resistant on Twitter. You can go to Twitch and type in Fire Resistant. It's not Fire Resistant Podcast anymore. It's Fire Resistant. You can go find us there, and we can talk about it. You can tell me what shows you want me to watch, or maybe I have already watched, and we can talk about it more. If you've never seen the show Severance, I would tell you to go see that. We can talk about that, because Severance is a phenomenal show that will have you bouncing your head off the walls because you just don't know what's going on. And that's what I love. But all right, check us out at twitch.tv /Fire Resistant, and we'll continue to do shows like this. And if you ever have any questions about faith, about Jesus, about anything biblical, you don't have to You don't have to wait for us to go live. If you go to our Twitch page, and then maybe I'll figure out a way to include a link to our Discord in the video here. But like, if you ever have any questions about anything faith related, if you're struggling with anything faith related, or just have a question, this is why we do what we do. So, so yeah, thank you for watching, and I don't know how I'm going to end the show, at least at this point, other than saying this is Urnest Opinions. And by the way, I'd like to thank two people. I'd like to thank the Atlanta Thrasher, because, and you know, if you know who it is, then awesome. If you don't know who he is, come on Twitch and you'll see his name in our chat. He came up with Urnest Opinions because I went up to him and I said, hey, I said, I have been racking my brain to try and figure out a name for this show. And I said, I feel like it has to include the name Earn, because that's what people call me in chat is Earn. And then, and it was like, it wasn't even like 2 minutes and he threw down like three names, and one of them was Urnest Opinions. I'm like, all right, that is right there. That's it, Urnest Opinions. And so I thank him. And there's a guy named Young Ripa. He doesn't know who I am. I watch his videos. He commentates on lots of things and lots of topics. And I've been listening to him for a minute. And Young Ripa, he will probably never see this video or know who we are. But thank him for kind of just motivating me to do something like this. Because watching him do it, I'm like, hey, I can talk about movies. He talks about an array of things. He's a comic book guy. He talks about movies, TV shows, conservative things, and all that sort of stuff. But from a Christian perspective, he does use an insane amount of profanity, which, you know, that's him. He can do whatever he wants. It's his show. But his name is Young Ripa, and he's phenomenal. He's just great. So I'd like to thank him for that, even though he'll probably never see this, but he is the reason why I'm sitting here doing this now. So, but with that being said, we will see you guys. I will figure out a way to end this show properly going forward, but I appreciate you if you made it this far. If you didn't, then you're not hearing me say I appreciate you listening to us, but we will see you on the flip side later.